You find it, you click it, you buy it. It seems that simple, right? We do it all the time. But behind that super easy checkout experience, there's this huge, high-stakes battle being fought over your data. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules that govern your online carts. I mean, think about it. It's the question we almost never stop to ask while we're typing in our credit card number. We place a massive amount of trust in these companies, but is that trust always deserved? Let's find out. For you and me, a data breach is a massive headache, a real worry. But for the e-commerce companies themselves, it's a potential catastrophe. A single major screw-up can unravel their entire business, like a house of cards. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. Okay, so let's get into it. The e-commerce world feels so slick and seamless to us, but for the companies running the show, they are literally always just one click away from a full-blown crisis. And this right here, this is the absolute bedrock of the entire industry. This isn't just some nice-to-have feature, it is the foundation. If an online store can't guarantee your payment info is safe, they fundamentally don't have a business. Everything else is totally secondary. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because our perception, your perception as a consumer directly decides a company's fate. Brands we see as trustworthy, they get a huge leg up. We flock to them, their market share grows. But the second a brand gets a reputation for being vulnerable, well, the fallout is brutal. We're talking massive fines, costly lawsuits, and, of course, customers like us just taking our business somewhere else. So, okay, with these enormous risks on the table, how does the industry even manage this? And how do investors know which companies are actually taking it seriously? Well, it turns out there's a rule book. And here's who's writing that rule book: the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or SASB for short. You can think of them as the folks who create the official safety playbook for all kinds of industries, and that includes e-commerce. These standards are pretty much the closest thing we have to a universal set of rules for how these companies are supposed to protect our data. Now, I know when you hear the word sustainability, you probably think about green energy and recycling, right? But in this world, in the financial world, it's all about business survival. It's a framework that forces companies to report on risks, and cybersecurity is a huge one that could seriously mess with their long-term financial health. All right, so what's actually in this playbook? I mean, it's one thing to have a rule book, but how do companies actually use it to find the weak spots and, defend our data? The SASB standard lays it out in a really clear three-step process. First, you have to be proactive. You have to go looking for the weak spots in your own systems. Step 2, once you find those problems, you need a real concrete plan to manage them. And third, and this is key, you don't just make this stuff up on your own. You have to align your strategy with established, expert-driven frameworks. And it's so important to understand exactly what they're protecting against. The standard defines data security risk really broadly. This isn't just about someone stealing your credit card number. It's any event that could hurt a company's operations, its reputation, or its customers because information got out. And the great thing is, companies aren't expected to just invent all this security stuff from scratch. The SASB standard points them toward these globally recognized frameworks built by the best in the business, like the international ISO standards or the NIST Cybersecurity Framework from the US government. When a company adopts one of these, it's like they're proving they're following the best security blueprints out there. But, let's be real. No system is perfect. Even with the absolute best plans in place, things can still go wrong. So what does the rulebook say happens when security inevitably fails? Well, first, everyone needs to be on the same page about what a breach even is. According to the standard, a data breach is any unauthorized event that messes with a company's information systems. This clear definition is super important because it's what triggers all the reporting requirements we're about to talk about. And this is where that required transparency really comes to life. Companies have to report the cold, hard numbers. How many times were they breached? What percentage of those involved are personal data? And maybe most importantly, exactly how many of us were affected. This isn't some vague PR statement, it's just the facts. But honestly, here's the most critical part. Just reporting that you failed isn't enough. The standard explicitly requires companies to describe the corrective actions they've taken. It basically forces them to answer the question, okay, that was bad. What are you doing to make sure this never, ever happens again? So, okay, we've looked at the problem, the playbook, and what happens when things go wrong. But let's just zoom out for a second. Why should you, as a shopper, care about these kinds of obscure accounting standards? It really all boils down to this choice right here. On one side, you've got companies that are transparent. They're open about this stuff. That builds investor confidence, it earns our trust, and it actually lowers their risk over time. But on the other side, you have the opaque companies, the ones hiding their weak spots, just hoping a crisis doesn't hit. The contrast couldn't be more stark. And ultimately, that's the whole point. These standards are a tool for accountability. They help us cut through all the marketing fluff and give investors, and by extension, us, the consumers, a way to see which companies are actually serious about protecting our information. So the rulebook exists. The framework for a safer online world has been written. But the billion-dollar question is still out there. Is the industry actually following it? Because now, the next time you click that buy button, you're not just a customer anymore. You're an informed stakeholder who knows exactly what to look for, and you know the difference between a company that truly values your trust and one that's just, well, building a house of cards.